Yeah, as a junior, we're really past all the contact dates in most sports. So college coaches, they can be making contact with you. You can be getting serious interest. There are student athletes who are getting phone calls and having scholarship conversations and getting offers and verbally committing here at this point. So it's really kind of down to the very serious point of the eligibility process. So if you haven't already, junior year is a really good year to create an NCAA certification account. Just to note, there's a little bit of cost. Those you can create those accounts at any time and don't have to pay for it. But to have it fully go through and for you to be fully eligible to play at a Division One or Division Two school, you do need to pay the $90 for U.S. citizens, and then it's 120, I believe, for 150. It's raised up for international student athletes. But basically, what that's going to be is for a college coach at the Division One or Division Two level. If they're already recruiting you, if they're already taking interest in you, that's where they're going to go to make sure that you're going to be NCAA eligible, that you're going to have the core courses, classes, and everything that you need to actually come to that school. So it's basically another checklist for the college coaches just to make sure you're in the right place as well. But a lot of people mistake that by filling out the NCAA certification account, that's what's going to start getting them recruited. It's really before that you can start getting recruited. And this is another step in the process.
Yeah, and I do think there's a lot to unpack here for the juniors because there's a lot of things that you need to start thinking about in addition to having conversations with a lot of these coaches. So again, the NCAA certification account is a paid account that goes to the NCAA. That is if you are looking at Division One and Division Two schools. And what that eventually amounts to is yes, it secures your amateur status, and yes, says I'm pacing to graduate above a 2.3 in these core courses. But what it's going to give you is a 10-digit eligibility center identification number. And that 10-digit number is something that a college coach is going to ask of you. They need that to be able to communicate back to the NCAA for official visits. You only get 5 at the Division One level. To offer you a scholarship and send that national letter of intent, you need to have that 10-digit eligibility center identification number. So that's part of what the NCAA certification page is. Kyle, you nailed it on the head. That is not a way that coaches search. When they need that number, if they're bringing you to that official visit, they need it right then and there. So get out ahead of it. You can even start that freshman or sophomore year if you know you want to end up at the Division One, Division Two level, and that's something that you're capable of doing. Again, coming back to something we talked about, make sure that your core course requirements are in order. Right, those NCAA core course requirements are what the eligibility center is all about. Again, math, English, science, social studies, language. Those are the core courses there. Other bit here in your junior year, you're going to start to take your SAT and ACT. So just briefly, how does all that tie into what we're talking about now?
Yeah, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the ACT, SAT test scores that come into play as well. There is something called a sliding scale that does affect your eligibility based on your GPA in relation to your ACT or SAT test score. Like Danny talked about, best bet, you want to maintain a 2.3 GPA at the very minimum just to be eligible. That being said, based on where your ACT or SAT score falls, that could change your eligibility. So let's say you have a 1200 ACT or SAT score, that may change the minimum for where your GPA can be. Again, if your GPA is 2.3, you're maybe not going to score a 1200 and vice versa. But just having those scores in place as well, they're going to make you more appetizing for a college coach. But also there are minimum requirements for the ACT and SAT as well as where you have to have those scores at just to be eligible in the first place. So to be a qualifier, that's worth paying attention. Again, we have that detailed out on the website as well.
Definitely. And again, junior year is a big year for a lot of different things. And I know the misconception is recruiting starts when I'm a junior. I think, it's pretty clear at this point that college coaches are really starting to make moves with the rising juniors. That's a lot. We've been sitting here talking about what the juniors need to do just from an eligibility standpoint for like 5 straight minutes. Right. In that time, you're also going to have a playing season. You're continuing to get better at your sport. You should be on the horn with college coaches, maybe taking visits. So you don't want to wait until your junior year to make all these things happen. There are some of these things like registering with the NCAA, getting that 10-digit ID, meeting with your guidance office to make sure you're pacing well. Take those things off your plate before you get to your junior year because things can get really crazy. And then you start to bring in SAT, ACT, which is something you happens in your junior year, you got to think about studying for that and getting those test scores to the NCAA. So just get out ahead of it, be proactive. I know we're big advocates of being proactive. Some of these things you can knock out in the earlier grade levels.